Montana This Morning continues on Montana's News Leader.
The partial government shutdown is now into its second month as more than 750,000 federal workers get set to miss another paycheck this week. I'm Mark Liverman with what some of them are faced with just to be able to get by.
And back here in the Treasure State, a Broadwater County Sheriff's deputy gunned down in the line of duty may soon get a lasting memorial from the state of Montana. What's being proposed for Deputy Mason Moore coming up.
Good morning to you. It is 6:30. I'm Missy O'Malley with Chet Lehman. Matt Elwell has our forecast in a moment. Our top story for you here at 6:30. 32 days into the partial government shutdown and still no end in sight.
And as CBS's Mark Liverman reports, the 800,000 federal workers affected are set to miss another paycheck this week.
Get it done. The shutdown hopefully will not last long.
That was President Trump on Twitter just hours before the longest government shutdown in history began 1 month ago.
Anything to say about Democrats rejecting their deal?
Yesterday, he ignored questions about the ongoing shutdown at the Martin Luther King Jr. Memorial, but he stayed active on social media, telling Democrats to stop playing games and give America the security it deserves.
We are aghast that he wants this giant 30-foot wall to be the symbol of America.
Democrats have rejected the president's latest proposal. 3 years of legal status for some refugees and immigrants brought here by undocumented parents in exchange for $5.7 billion in wall funding.
He is now holding the American people hostage over a vanity project that he calls a wall.
The Senate is expected to vote on the president's plan this week. Meanwhile, House Democrats will vote on their own legislation to reopen the government without any wall funding.
If this carries on until February, March, it's going to be bad for everybody.
Nancy Anderson and about 800,000 other federal workers face a second missed paycheck this week. Many are relying on donations and food banks to survive.
When you're running out of food, you got to feed your family, and it's tough.
The TSA said 10% of screeners called in sick on Sunday, many due to financial limitations. Mark Liverman, CBS News.
Now, despite the spike in sick-outs, the TSA is still getting travelers through airports. The agency says 99.9% of all passengers waited less than 30 minutes.
That's an incredible statistic.
Absolutely true.
Yeah.
Yep.
I wouldn't want to come to work if I wasn't getting paid.
That's a tough deal
Yeah.
Into your second bi-weekly paycheck. That would
There's
be
some
tough.
days that some people don't want to come to work. And
Period. Yeah.
Especially if it's snowing. That's the big question.
Good point.
Temperatures this morning, not too bad in a few areas, single digits in others, 8 below in West Yellowstone. We are talking the potential of snow by the time you head into the evening. Today, the clouds will be on the increase. Daytime highs around the 30-degree mark. It does look like we're going to see these temperatures stay on the cool side. We'll break down your chances of snow, of course, coming up in just a few minutes.
Thank you, Matt. 6:32 here. A proposed bill would honor a fallen Montana deputy by establishing the Mason Moore Memorial Highway.
Yeah, at the legislature yesterday, House Transportation Committee heard HB 156. It would establish U.S. Highway 287 as the Memorial Highway. Moore was Broadwater County Sheriff's deputy when he was shot and killed in the line of duty in May of 2017. A sign would also be installed at mile marker 109 where Moore died with his name, date of passing, and badge number. In emotional testimony, Moore's wife Jody Moore and Sheriff Wynn Meehan of Broadwater County recounted the legacy of that deputy.
It's a way just to honor him and bring some closure and also put that to remember that law enforcement officers are human and they have families and they're loved by somebody out there too.
Now, hundreds of members of law enforcement, first responders, and citizens attended Moore's funeral. Lloyd Barris has been charged in the 2017 with deliberate homicide by accountability for Moore's death. The committee voted unanimously to advance that bill.
And a group of students in the Bozeman area decided they were going to make a difference on MLK Day. MTN's Emma Hamilton talked with the students and made the trek up to Bridger Bowl to learn what they had in mind.
It was a perfect day to hit the slopes, but a few fifth graders from Irving Elementary School had something else in mind. While many kids spend their days off from school, maybe sleeping in or having a play date with another child, these 5 kids, a part of Destination Imagination, were here at Bridger Bowl handing out gun locks for free. Destination Imagination is a student-led group that must complete a challenge of its choice. These 5 students decided to tackle the Service Learning Challenge. After brainstorming, the team came up with distributing gun locks to the community.
Because we talked to some of our community leaders, like the police department and Chief Crawford, and all of them said big problems in our community were accidental deaths from guns.
To have them actually take the initiative to go out and find where they could actually source these gun locks and then figure out a way to get them out into our community has been really great to watch them learn along the way. And also, you know, now that they're giving these out, you know, they're just giddy about it.
The challenge must have a lasting impact on the community, and this team plans to do just that.
You know, we live in Montana. A lot of us do a lot of outdoor activities, and hunting is one of those. There are a lot of unsecured guns in our community, and you know, I think it's part of our culture here in Montana, and we just want to try to make that a little safer for everybody, because we do have a handful of accidental deaths in our state and our community every year, and if we can prevent just one, that'd be great.
Reporting from Bridger Bowl, Emma Hamilton, MTN News.
The team also found out that during their research, anyone can get a free gun lock at the Health, Fire, Bozeman, or the Bozeman Police Departments.
We're going to shift gears now just a little bit. 6:36 on this Tuesday. During last fall's campaign, MTN News and Montana State University teamed up for a first ever poll asking Montanans about their views on the election, elected officials, and top issues.
Now, we've followed up with those who answered that poll, and we've asked them more about how they voted in November and why. Now, the first part of the three-part series, MTN's chief political reporter Mike Dennison and MSU political scientist Dr. David Parker delve into those answers on the U.S. Senate and the House races.
In the high-profile U.S. Senate race won by Democrat Jon Tester, we had President Donald Trump visit the state 4 times, attempting to boost Republican turnout for challenger Matt Rosendale. Our poll showed that, for the most part, the partisan voters came home. 99% of those identifying as Democrats went for Tester, and 91% of Republicans stuck with Rosendale. But Tester won the independents by 61 to 34%, a significant edge. We also asked voters whether their choice was influenced by President Trump or the divisive hearings on Supreme Court nominee Brett Kavanaugh. 45% said their choice was not related to Trump. 30% said they voted to support the president, and 24% said it was a vote against the president. On the Kavanaugh hearing, 60% said it factored into their vote. Of those, 58% said they voted for Rosendale, but 40% said they chose Tester.
But there's more to this Kavanaugh effect, yes?
Yeah, absolutely. If you thought the hearings were important and they mattered to you, you voted for Matt Rosendale, and if you didn't, then you voted for Jon Tester. But here's the nuance. What happened is that more Republicans it mattered, so they came home. A lot of independents, it didn't really matter so much, and overwhelmingly those independents went for Jon Tester. And I think that was really key here in the race. The Kavanaugh hearings had an effect to get Matt Rosendale's base back in line where he needed to be. The problem is you can't win on base alone in Montana, and Jon Tester won with an overwhelming advantage among independents.
So now let's take a look at some of the results in the House race.
Here we also had a very partisan breakdown. 99% of Democrats went for Democratic challenger Kathleen Williams, and 95% of Republicans chose GOP Congressman Greg Gianforte, who won the race by 5 percentage points. Williams won independents, but by a lesser margin than Tester, 53 to 43%. We also asked if Gianforte's assault of a reporter on the eve of his first election in 2017 influenced voters. 56% said not much or not at all, and they mostly voted for Gianforte. 73% of Republicans said it didn't influence their vote at all, and 83% of Democrats said it did.
But we also had a Trump effect in this race, didn't we?
You know, the irony is Donald Trump came to the state 4 times to try to defeat Senator Tester. But we do know, as political scientists, that House races are very easily nationalized. So I think those visits, according to the data, seem to suggest to me that Trump succeeded in nationalizing the race, and that helped Greg Gianforte. If you look at the data among independent voters, you see very clearly independent voters did not break as heavily for Kathleen Williams as they did for Tester, 1. And 2, she didn't do as well as among Republicans. There was a 3-point difference between how Jon Tester did among Republicans and Kathleen Williams. And it might, that between the loss of those independent voters, some of whom approve of the job that Jon Tester's doing, probably led to her defeat.
Thanks, David. Tomorrow we'll take a look at the poll results for the initiatives. I'm Mike Dennison with David Parker for MTN, reporting from Bozeman.
About 1,400 people did respond to the Mail poll, and the results have a margin of an error of about 2.6%. So we'll be checking out those other two-part series.
We'll be digging into that for the next couple of days.
Absolutely. It is time for a quick break. In a moment, North Korea is preparing to talk peace with the U.S., but what about their nuclear program? A special report up next.
But first, we're going to check in with Bianca Goladriga to see what's coming up at 7 o'clock on CBS This Morning.
Good morning. Ahead on CBS This Morning, frigid temperatures continue this morning as another winter storm moves across the country. We'll talk to Dr. Tara Narula about how the bitter cold can impact your health. Plus, only on CBS This Morning, a close friend of missing Colorado mom Kelsey Barrett speaks out. What she says about red flags in Barrett's relationship with her fiancé before her disappearance. We'll see you at 7.